Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Andy the Destroyer Ruiz, Tyson Fury, and get this, Andy Ruiz got rejected by Tyson Fury's team for requesting a 13 million to 18 million and would like a cut from the pay-per-views. Warren thinks Andy is delusional. Well, Andy Ruiz has been ruled out, and let me counterpunch. First off, this just shows you how you can become spoiled or accustomed to a certain amount of money. Now, and it also shows you that some people, regardless of how much they brag, regardless of how much they proclaim, they're not the same type of fighter as other fighters, or they're not the top draw. Okay. Now, I admit Andy expected too much, but Andy's expecting something that he would expect from any superstar that claims to be a superstar. Unless you're these guys right here, you're not getting anywhere near that money. And Andy Ruiz is nowhere near these guys. He's only beat one of them, and that's Anthony Joshua. And then he was beaten in the rematch by Anthony Joshua. Okay. Even though Joshua has lost twice since then, it wasn't to him. It was from the other guy to the left of him. And he's the unified champion. So I don't know what Andy expected to get. I don't know why he wanted. I know why, but I don't know why his demand was so high. It seems like a cash out because you think of the privilege it was for him to even be considered for a fight with Tyson Fury. And that was the man to the right of Joshua, which is Deontay Wilder. So that was supposed to be a mandatory like situation. And if Andy paid attention to anything in the boxing world, he would understand that there's no way Tyson Fury would even fathom giving him even a third of what he asked. A third of 13 million if he was only trying to give Usyk 30% or offer Usyk 30%, which Usyk took, so they had to find another way out of that deal. Nonetheless, he took the deal, he agreed to the deal, and Andy comes around and saying, I want 13 to 18 million plus an upside of pay-per-view. It's hilarious, man. It's hilarious. But it also shows, though, how illegitimate the WBC mandatory or mandate was. You knew that was all garbage or trash because there was no structure that was put aside for Andy to make those demands or for a mandatory purse bid. Remember that? I mean, normally when you have a mandatory fight, and Wilder opted to leave the Andy Ruiz fight, which was no money as well. Andy decided, okay, I'm in the hot seat, so how about we go to purse bid? There's no purse bid. It's just rejected. So that means it's just like any other fight out there. That means that the WBC is really not even legitimate or um even just structured enough to have a purse bid like they would do any mandated fighter or any fighter that's supposed to be mandated. And it's sad because the moment Andy asked for this type of money, which is stupidly high, okay, 13 million is what he got from the rematch of Anthony Joshua, right? And we'll break that down in a second. But the moment he asked for that amount of money, that's a time when Frank Warren should have contacted the WBC or either side and asked him, what does he think a fair split would be? And it would more than likely be 25 to 30%. And based on the way they did Dillian White, okay, I think that that's what they would have done to Andy Ruiz, if not smaller. Because Andy really hasn't done anything besides beat up an older Ortiz, which definitely showed his age in his last two fights, including the loss to Andy Ruiz. And Chris Arreola, which was another 40-year-old that ended up dropping him in that bout in the second round. So that's not really impressive, just because you figure you're the last one standing on a mandated situation that's all of a sudden not being mandated by Mauricio Suleiman, go figure. But to ask for 13.18 million, let's get into that for a second, right? Okay, Andy's expecting Tyson Fury to be the next Anthony Joshua. So yeah, it was overly ambitious, somewhat greedy, but then you have to understand, Andy Ruiz received $13 million in December of 2019 fighting as the champion against Anthony Joshua. Okay? And that was the two biggest years he's ever had and probably ever will. But now he's expecting Tyson Fury to be that replacement, which he is. Tyson Fury is the next British superstar they have. But understand this. Just because he's a replacement doesn't mean he has the equal value or the equal marquee value or the selling power that Anthony Joshua has. He doesn't. Especially after the things that he's done. They gave Tyson Fury a solid year. He's fought two fighters. He's supposed to have been retired. He thought that would give him more buzz or more intrigue for him coming back, which it really didn't. Okay, his fans loved it. But now the show's over because he's refusing to fight the other champion, which that is the fight that's pushed to the forefront. You can only fight Joe Blows for so long. So for Andy Ruiz, he absolutely overshot. Okay, his expectations for Tyson Fury were way too high. Seriously. His expectations for Tyson Fury was way too high. Because he's thinking Tyson Fury has that star power like Tyson Fury. And I believe even if Tyson Fury does, which he doesn't, I don't think that he would even feel, I know he wouldn't feel obligated, but he wouldn't fancy the idea of giving Andy that much money. He wouldn't. Now, the strange thing is, if he wanted people to believe that he was just as marketable as Anthony Joshua, that's exactly what he should do. Because it's not all about the money that you make. It's about the money that you can create or pay your fighters, your challengers, in addition to showing everybody, like, I'm the new kid on the block. I'm the next Khan. I'm that new czar. And I think Team Tyson, that just shows you, the cheap side of what they're going through on top of the realistic side of who they actually are. Okay. But Andy Ruiz getting turned down for that amount of money, that just shows you the WBC was a fraud and the situation was fraudulent. Okay. But now we see Tyson Fury, Frank Warren scuffling for an opponent. It won't be Andy Ruiz, as you can see. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.